Hi, I'm Zack Snyder, director of the movie Man of Steel. I want to take a second and just let you know that as you're watching the film, myself, a cast member, or even part of the crew could show up just as I am now and point out some things in the movie that we think are interesting. As we made the film, we took our time to also document the making of the movie. When you're watching the film for the first time, sometimes the story just goes by and you miss a lot of cool details, or you're not aware of scenarios that took place either off camera or in the background or in the design. So this allows you to see some of those details in a way maybe you didn't before. So as I said, you know, either myself, part of the crew, or part of the cast could show up because, of course, their experiences are different from mine and point out some things that we find fun. So check it out.
Found that it had enough of what I grew up with on Superman, but it still was a different kind of take on a very revered subject.
We really chose to focus on establishing Krypton to get a better sense of where they come from, what they were faced with as a culture and as a planet on the edge of self-destruction. I think it was important to us to really get at the heart of who the Kryptonians are.
Krypton is a great sci-fi element, but it also serves as the framework so you really understand where Clark came from.
One of the things that we really delve into is the fact that he's an alien.
Well, because we were doing essentially a science fiction movie and we were highlighting Superman's alien nature, I wanted to spend a great deal of time on Krypton. And things like free will don't really exist on Krypton. John Byrne, when he reinvented Superman, I think in the mid-'80s, had suggested that Kryptonians weren't born in the womb, that they were raised in these matrices. I'm not sure if he called them Genesis chambers or not. That's something that we call them in our film. But we were at least following in his footsteps, this idea that in a way, Krypton was more like, you know, Brave New World, your alphas and your betas and your gammas and things like that.
For quite a number of years on Krypton, the way we have Krypton, there hasn't been anything such as natural birth. If you are a couple and you want a child, you apply for a child and you get to choose whether you want that child to be a warrior or some form of doctor or whatever it happens to be. Those children have been pre-grown. Then as the need comes, they are harvested and you receive your child. So it's that fundamental system that Jor-El rebels against.
And I think she is an incredibly brave woman, giving birth to a child and then to send her...
Even went so far as to write up sayings which Alex McDowell then translated into Kryptonian. All that stuff on the columns actually says stuff.
Well, we had this sort of meta problem with Superman, which is that he is from a distant planet, but he has a giant S on his chest. So how do you resolve the fact that this S is Kryptonian? In a way, the entire idea of the language stemmed from that problem. And so what we started off with, without really the notion of developing a full language, was developing a series of glyphs. So if the S, or the hope symbol, the hope glyph, is related to the House of El, and what is the glyph for Zod, and what is the glyph of Faora, and what are the glyphs for the Council?
So we wanted to come up with a core number of those, the glyphs, and have sort of layered meaning behind them so that this one symbol could stand for a lot of different things. And these are sort of the ancient symbols. But then there became a need to be able to translate things more literally into English. So then we brought on a linguist and started developing a phonetic version of writing.
From the backstory of this movie that I was told, the people are very selfish at this point in time, and so that was something that I focused on for the language. Also, there's a long history of the objects. The writing on objects shows that people pass them down through their generations. There's this recording of events that have happened with those objects, so they're very much into the history of their culture as well. So it was more about incorporating that old mythology of Krypton. Some of the sentences are about the gods of Krypton, so it was including that into the scenery and the idea that Kryptonians have this long tradition of writing, and so that should be reflected on the ships, the weapons, the chambers of council, all of those different things. So that was how it first kind of developed.
There are some basic rules for the way language is developed, and one of those is what is the cultural emphasis and impetus for the language. So in English, it's all about me, right? So I want an apple is the way that the language is structured. What we said about Krypton was that they are object-oriented. They fetishize the object. So in this case, it's apple, want I. and so you put the object first. So that sort of set in motion a bunch of rules for the language.
If they want to write a sentence, for example, like "the light of Ra warms us," where you see the word Ra, you can either write it out phonetically, or you can utilize the old ancient symbol, and they kind of connect together in this very like intricate sort of filigree, which exists on robots, sets, ships.
These two women, probably within 3 to 4 weeks, had it licked. They just got on it and nothing stopped them, and they came up with an alphabet, a lexicon, a long list of words with their appropriate meanings and how.
Retard with a lot of different colors on it. It's kind of silly looking. So it's hard to be like fierce and intimidating when you're basically wearing like a jester outfit. So thanks for making it even more difficult than it already was. But you can see the end result is very intimidating. Anyway, I'll be back later on to give you more.
Right.
Out of the way. I said.
Behind you.
A lot of time and a lot of work into the world of Krypton because the kind of deep history, the culture of the planet itself has a real impact on the story. And it also helps build out a lot of the context for really the deepest dive that we've ever done in film into Krypton. You'll see that the surface of the planet almost appears to be abandoned and desolate. Our thought was that maybe the first time you see the planet, you would just see these few towers sticking up, and it looks just like it's sparsely populated. And then you dive down inside the planet, and you realize that these markings on the surface are actually deep caves or kind of mine shafts. So the cities have moved underground. They've moved into these caves that they've created as they've stripped out the core of the planet, and it sets the scene for the planet.
I really enjoyed the tank work, actually. I mean, I worked quite a bit with understanding sort of deep breathing methods and trying to sort of expand my lung capacity and stuff. Because some of those shots were pretty hairy, you know? You have to sort of submerge yourself 15 feet and then kick off from a certain point and then travel 60, 70 feet underwater, sometimes going through specific motions, and then return up to the top. So it's a big breath required, you know?
The underwater portion that I shot with Russell ties into Krypton, but everything that we did was somewhat abstract because we were going off of a previs, which is an animated cartoon of what the shots are and how the sequence plays out. So all we had was that against a green background to shoot the scenes. We sort of had to use our imagination and think about how it worked and look at the composition and how that all fell into place.
You could come up, you could take your time, you could see the codex, you know, and he'll bring it in for you to take it.
And this is a good time maybe to talk about the way that the Krypton culture and indeed the entire look of the planet has evolved. You know, we imagined, looking back 200,000 years of culture, that this was a place where the science of Krypton developed with a completely biological lens. So everything that they were looking at was based on plant forms and organic forms. So the very shapes of buildings, the shapes of architecture.
We see Jor-El taking his baby and launching the baby off into the solar system to land wherever it may. In this set here, we've gone to great lengths to create scientific experiments, the remains of, or to give a plausible sense of what it is that he really does. He is a scientist, and that is his bias. And the idea of creating a world where everything is grown and evolves, and it has a sort of very organic feel to it. You know, the materials that we use, the look of the place. It's incredibly important to create another world that we haven't seen before.
The thought that
is that there's a serious storm brewing, and these blowers are going off, the fans, there's a jet engine blowing us. We're all in it together. We're all thrown into this moment of absolute horror together, screaming and shrieking, and then there's a cut, and the wind stops, and everybody, you know, goes and gets their snack. And, you know, my daughter was visiting that day, and I was like, "Hi, honey." It's just so surreal.
We kind of went a little bit crazy on that. I had a friend who had some jet engines, and I asked him if we could turn them into wind machines. So we had 2 jet engines that we mounted on the back of car towing trucks. They were T-33s, which is old generation, but they're safe jet because all the intake is radial. It was one drop.
Watching the levels, so when he starts off in drinking, they all start the same.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
What do you got in? Is there real beer in there?
Just water.
Where's my standbys? Just in case he gets really thirsty. Got a few more buds.
now we're inside the Kent family farm. We really want to feel the history of the farmhouse. We want to understand that it's gone through these changes from having been a really beautiful house in the 50s and 60s to now this really much more aged house of a single woman living alone who can't necessarily keep it up at full level of polish and finish. So a lot of layering and literally kind of a complete layer of repainting and surfacing, but also stacking up the kind of history of the Kent family within the layers of the visuals, the backgrounds of the farm. So when you're inside, you see photo albums, you see the remnants of history.
And this is art director. This is the art director. I mean, this is not in the movie, but this is caring right here. It's a little note remembering Jonathan Kent to Martha from her friend Anne. That's the kind of caring.
You know, something I feel always is very important for the actors is that almost that apocryphal idea that inside the drawer is the envelopes that are addressed to the character's name, even though the camera never sees it, to build those kind of layers so that the actors feel at one with the character, and the character of the house itself becomes part of the storytelling, part of the world.
Well, here I am laying it out to all the people on Earth that they need to surrender Kal-El to me. I guess a lot of people on Earth preserve Krypton, and Kal-El is a big part of reclaiming Krypton and its former glory. And I think it ultimately, at the end of the day, makes sense, no matter how frightening it might be for you Earthlings. I also had a lot of fun doing this because I got to learn some new languages. Apparently, General Zod knows all the languages.
A bit about how you make a movie. One of the things you need when you make a movie is a camera operator, especially in a handheld film like Man of Steel, where the camera is being held by a person. It gives the movie that organic, sort of human, made by people feeling that the movie has.
Running down the stairs, it's a single take. It's one take. We run down the thing, we go, I put the jacket on, he circles around, ends up in front of me somehow and back. I don't know how he does it. At some point, I had to stop keeping track of it because I was so concerned about messing up or falling down the stairs and ruining the shot. I just had to look at it in awe.
A guy I work with is a guy named John Clothier, who's worked on a lot of my movies, and he is a very nimble and versatile individual. And so given the task of chasing Lois Lane from her apartment to the street in a single shot, which was the way it was originally conceived. Of course, in the finished film, it's cut up a little bit, but you could see that a lot.
Clark and Jonathan really connect. Kevin was, you know, so great to work with on set. It was such an honor to have such a legend to work with, and you know, he was giving me so much advice about acting and about how to own myself, which was really, really special to me. And especially in this scene, what flowed around a lot was the whole restraint. That was the most important thing whenever I'm up against the fence and I'm just completely furious, but I'm restraining myself not to hurt these kids because, you know, if I do, I don't know how to control my powers completely, and that's something that Jonathan knows and that Kevin and I were talking about as ourselves before.
Man, you want to grow up to be Clark, because whoever that man is, good character or bad, he's...
About a lot throughout filming and behind the scenes was the fact that myself and Cooper Timberline, the 9-year-old version of Clark Kent, are really what's setting up this whole story and what makes Henry Cavill's Man of Steel who he is later in the movie. Zack and I and Zack and Cooper talked a lot about this and how really we are the backbone of the origin story. And you know, it was really the fact that he has this whole struggle throughout the whole movie of who he is and what the right thing to do is. That's what really we all worked off of, which really made us alike.
As far as
Why are you surrendering to Zod?
I really like working with Amy. Amy's great. She's good fun. She brings a good energy to set. And on long days, you do need someone to goof around with sometimes.
Zack,
Yes.
where are you planning on having the squad of soldiers with the tranquilizer?
There's that big one-way window right there.
Oh, that thing. That's
I thought that was
I thought it was a mirror.
That's not a vanity mirror?
I thought that's so I could check my lip gloss when soups came. It's like, ooh.
As far as an actress goes, as a contrast, when you get the person, Amy, who you can goof around with and have fun with, and then she brings this wonderfully powerful yet soft character. She is obviously Superwoman in a societal sense, and then she's finally found this one guy who can literally sweep her off her feet. And Amy plays that wonderfully, this idea of, okay, I'm gonna try and keep my stuff together, and then she can't.
You're in front of the mirror.
Just dancing to myself.
Yeah.
Just to myself.
Yeah. That's not a mirror.
And she actually goes a bit goo-goo and then pulls it together again, and I think Amy does that really, really nicely.
Hi, it's me again. We first encounter this character called Superman, although I don't think he's named Superman yet. A little bit about Henry Cavill. Very, very, very nice man, a very talented actor. A lot of fun to hang around with, a lot of fun to have a drink with. When I first was on the set with him in that interrogation room, I decided I wanted to record this in a different way than the story does. So I had the set photographer take a picture of me, of Lois Lane, Amy Adams giving me a kiss on the cheek, and me punching Superman in the face with his jaw pointing the other way because I've just made contact. I don't know why they don't use that for publicity, because it's a great photograph. But that's how I choose to remember my direct relationship with Superman, as someone who I could beat out for the leading lady, for the ingenue.
Didn't make much difference in the end.
It did to me.
They're coming. You should leave now. Go.
How to help and how to actually save the world, I guess. But I have to impart that knowledge to Clark, to Superman.
Yeah, that's better.
1, 2, 3. Awesome. Yeah. And then I'll wait till your wait till my head. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you want to go? Yeah, because it's cool if you can get that extension. Boom.
You got it.
We've done everything but put the camera in. Okay, we've got it.
And the most important thing about this scene, for us as characters was that we finally become, we are essential to work as a team for the existence of mankind. And especially with Jor-El. I'm assuming that they're going for the park.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm looking. And then when she says, I say, it's okay. Me too. And then I'm off.
Let's get into it. Let's do it. Have you been up here, Zack?
Up there? No.
It's beautiful.
What do you see?
Corn.
Corn.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's shocking. I love production. I like shooting. You know, it's fun for me. Being on set and seeing Henry in his costume, you know, coming out, putting him on a wire, even though we didn't do a lot of wire work, but putting him on a wire, he and Amy. It's the first time I think that he was in his costume. We were in Illinois in a cornfield, and it was the first time Henry was in his costume, and there was just something really magical about this sort of weird descent that they did, and there's kind of destruction around, and I don't know, it was like, I suddenly was like, wow, we're making a Superman movie. This is pretty cool. It was early on, but it was one of my favorite moments. I came down, that was Michael Shannon's first day on set. He and I had talked, and he had asked me whether or not he was gonna have armor on in the movie, and I said, of course you're gonna have real armor in the movie. How else would we do it? And he was like, oh great, because I don't wanna look like an idiot in the pajamas. And of course, he shows up in his pajama suit, and I'm like, yeah, sorry, it's gonna be CG army. So he was not happy, and then he goes, where's the spaceship? I'm like, well, those green stairs are the spaceship. But amazing performance regardless.
This is the Starcraft with the Superman logo to come. This is where the outer cradle dock and the inner cradle dock where the little baby sits that have been damaged by Super Witch. And now she's really pissed off, and Superman had better watch out.
The Codex is not here.
Michael Shannon, what you should never do, and he should know better, is to threaten Superman's mother, which of course results in him being tackled through a giant exploding silo of flammable material, I guess. I think they keep flammable material inside of silos. I wouldn't, but they do.
The Smallville battle was a massive undertaking, with elements from visual effects to wires to helicopters to explosions, cars, car crashes, etc. It was a 2-week shoot in which we had one unit that Zack ran the entire time. The Smallville battle is unique in the sense that other than from the Kent farm to the gas station, that flying scene between Superman and Zod, and the interior of the IHOP being shot on green screen, the entire rest of the battle was all shot on
a real town, because we can then use all the other environments around it, including farmland and a farm and near a big city, and then find out if we can, or figure out how we can do it into a backlot, which is how we ended up here. I scouted about 56 cities and small towns outside of Chicago, and we ended up with 3 good ones, and visited them all, and I sat with the mayors of each one of them, and this was the one that had everything that Alex and Zack liked. And
7 states and in a couple of countries for the perfect small towns, Smallville. And ultimately found it in Plano, Illinois. The reason that it worked on several levels, but I think one of the really exceptional things about the town, and other than their great openness and willingness to have us come in and turn the entire town into a giant movie set, was that half of the town was missing its facade, that you have a railway track on one side and the facades of the town on the other. So it allowed us to go down all the way down one side of the street and rebuild those facades and allow those to become sets that we could really manipulate when the battle happened. But the town itself is a kind of classic layout, has this perfect main street, but it also has something that isn't too cute. There's layers of a kind of, you know, not too beautiful, not too classic parts that allow you to suggest that we really are in 2013, 2014, that this is a contemporary town that is falling on hard times, that it isn't all roses here, that this is, you know, buildings that are in foreclosure, buildings that are slightly decayed or really badly decayed. So that combination of the space and the layout of the city, the town, that allows us to put our own sets in place and treat it as a backlot and have complete control to prepare, really, so that we could blow the whole place up.
Take a minute and take a breath here. In the Smallville fight scene. This is actually the fun part, playing my character, to finally, after months and months of preparation and stunt rehearsals, to actually find myself on set and to kick Henry Cavill's ass. I mean, really. We prepared these fight scenes, as I said, for weeks, and it was almost like a dance choreography. You know, you go through every single move and every step and every hit you do. It's all well prepared, and the wire work, everything is perfectly set up. But you know, on set, when cameras are rolling, things are always a little bit different. And I remember walking on set and see like Smallville basically destroyed. I mean, and you think, wow, this is Faora's work, which is quite impressive. So you have, you know, a train across the street, and I knew I'm gonna destroy an IHOP, and then I saw flames in the background at 7-Eleven, and I saw Henry standing right across, you know, in front of me with his cape. But just the fact, or just the moment where the costume, the makeup, and all the hard work of preparation comes together, and you find yourself in the streets and seeing all the destruction, and this my character is responsible for it, was an amazing feeling, and I had no reservations to fight Superman this time because it was just so much fun.
Snyder 01, what about the guy in blue? I said engage all targets.
Hey guys, I'm back to talk a little bit about previs. Previs is a digital or low-tech CG version of the scene. What that allows is us to know what elements we need to shoot, especially in a heavy VFX sequence, whether it's real backgrounds or digital backgrounds, digital doubles or real actors, someone on a wire, or, you know, a full CG character. So it's pretty cool. It really helps us make the movie.
And that gets you to see the helicopter, right? And then as it gets shot or hit, that makes you stand up, right? Because it's spinning.
Okay.
Spinning, 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 and it'll go right like this. See the lenses of the street lamps?
Yeah.
The lenses? It goes along the line of those lenses.
Oh. Hey, we're going in hard! Fallen Angel, Guardian is down. I repeat, Guardian is down.
So you could be like, pink, 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 and then you look just as it's when she lowers her hand so you can see him and jump.
Okay, yeah.
And then
So coming up,
at the same time, you could do their insane.
Boom, that's the trick. Yeah, try to look right where Damon is. You're never going to look at him, so don't worry about that. That's cooler, it's scarier. Hit that guy. Because you don't look at any of these guys, right?
No, you're not.
That's cool that she just like rises up, there's guys all around her, and she's just looking out there, and then she
Yeah. Once she comes up into her right side a little more, she can get in there.
Yeah.
Guardian, do you read? Under 1-2, calling Guardian. Guardian, do you read?
Under 1-2, this is Guardian. I want you to put down everything you've got.
Just north of my position. This will be danger close. Copy, danger close. Good luck, sir.
I think we're going to do two pairs over there, so we can drop 2 more nitrogens just like this. 2 of those over there? 2 big ones. Okay. Drop right there. Great.
Yeah, what happens when she jumps over there and lands on the roof crushes, and at the same time the wheels pop out, so everything will drop down.
And action, and jump, and front.
Let's just explain what's going to happen to the car so we're safe. It's high pressure through the pistons, pulls the roof down. It'll still be under pressure once the roof is crushed, so no one goes in, obviously, until we've gone in and bled the system down. So we just ask everybody to back up. The only thing that has to run here is the camera. There should be no people in the shop. 3, 2, 1.
question for you. Do you want a moment of the stillness and then she gets wiped out? You know, yeah, she pulls, boom. Because Damon just did something that made me, he made a move.
Boom! Yeah, and then he gets wiped. That's kind of cool.
Almost like
you're ready to go.
Yeah.
You guys are ready to engage. Let's try it.
A good death has its own reward.
So we'd be like, and action. I mean, a little chase him like that.
This is the first time I tried it on the tarmac, so you might get some good footage of me hitting my face.
No, never.
We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, do you drink your coffee while you're doing that?
Funny.
And here we go. Rehearsal's up. Ready in 3, 2, 1, go.
That's kind of fun doing the drag back, gotta say.
There was a lot of fun had in the wires because there was so much that needed to be done. It just took more time, and it was important to do it right, and so people took their time over it, and there was time to actually sit there and enjoy it. And in between some takes, you're left, you know, hanging in a harness.
Like Mary Poppins now.
Watch yourself. And so we do get to have a good laugh with the whole thing.
Here we go. Ready in 3, 2, 1, go.
You will not win. For every human you save, we will kill 1 million more.
So you kind of end up about right here, and the guys all come and they've got their guns on you, right? And you stare at them, and you come out like this, and they'll all go, they'll back up a little bit and do this and lower their guns. You kind of walk right through here.
Do we have an all clear? Alpha team, sit rep. Alpha team, you copy. Alpha team.
Thank you, Colonel.
It's up to Soup seeing the Chinook lowering, and then he's going to turn and come into the front. He wants him to see it, turn, and then they all come in, and he goes, "Is that what I think it is?" Right. Right? So he kind of comes into that. So you're actually seeing them lower it onto that thing.
We have a plan, General.
Is that what I think it is?
We need to get out of the building right now.
Yeah, so I should have been pushing a little sooner.
A little sooner,
yeah.
We need to get down to the street. Try to remain calm. Nobody on the stairs. I want nobody on the stairs. No, I want all of you on the stairs.
So we'll see if we can get you guys, even though you're not, just to stay with you a little longer.
You want to stay with us as long as possible?
As long as you can, totally.
Hi, this is one of the few scenes where we actually shot practically in downtown Chicago. Amazingly enough, we were only down there for a couple weeks. This is chaos outside the Daily Planet, and this is a scene where the city's about to be destroyed, and many of the employees from the Daily Planet and our main characters are sprinting out. So we had 40 stunt people, we had hundreds of extras, we had vehicles moving, and so it's, of course, always our main goal to keep it safe, but keep it as real and frantic as possible.
Plane just crashed and big explosion, and action!
Everybody, this way! Come on, this way! Come on, keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. Come on! Come on, keep going, keep going, come on, keep moving. Come on!
slide back in here really quickly, briefly tell you what it was like shooting the scenes exteriors while, you know, the world is ending. It was fall in Chicago, unseasonably warm, very nice weather. Myself and about 300 background artists all running from one place to another place all day long. But it was a good workout. It was a good workout that day. You know, did a lot of laps that day, a lot of laps. And it was great. Zack was very encouraging. Knees took a bit of a beating that day, but for the most part, I think it turned out great. I mean, it certainly looks like the buildings are coming down, when in fact, they were just standing still. Anyway, back to the movie.
Our people saw.
And then what about when you guys go to the other spot? No, you're good. I like it. Yeah. This is good. I like this because I feel like wider than this, this is pretty all. This is going to be great. All right, good. Good. Yeah. So here we are in the Genesis chamber with Zod and Jor-El finally coming to I guess, an additional violent ending. We knew that we were going to have to do a computer death of Jor-El, as well as the one that happened back on Krypton. So DJ and I talked a lot about how we would digitally deconstruct Jor-El. Now, if you look, there's a sequence back when Lois gets on the escape pod.
On a movie, you try to sort of do one thing. You try to sort of aim for one thing that nobody's ever heard before, you know? And then on this one, we started sort of to pile up the ideas. And it was really great because just the whole vibe of the thing just encouraged you to experiment and feel free of, you know, the burden of history.
And I think the way we approached it and the way that we've sort of had to approach the whole movie was like, what if there was no Superman movie before now?
I kept having this idea of the endlessness of the wheat fields, the endlessness of America, you know, the thing, you know, the infinity, the sound of infinity, and the sort of the sound of flying as well. I kept hearing pedal steel guitars, but not used in a normal way. So what would happen if I used an archetypal American instrument, the pedal steel guitar, and figured out how to manipulate that into a string section? I don't know, it's just the sound I heard in my head.
We talked a lot about, you know, trying to get some of this like America, you know, this sort of spiritual and optimistic American thing.
While I think of the notes for the tune, I try to think of what's the sonic world we're going to pour this tune into. And that's what we're doing. We're experimenting. I mean, you know, that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to stand still. So I had this idea of getting 20 drummers into this room. But I thought, what if we could get the greatest drummers and, you know, melt them into one giant machine of energy. I want the audience to feel like they're, you know, you're surrounding them. I don't think anybody's ever done that as a sound. Yeah, and we did that. You know, it was not so bad. Not a bad day at the office. The way a film works is it's you know, this family that makes it. It's collaboration. It's you want your director as involved as possible.
Well, the thing I think that's cool is that you want to take elements from them. It's like, okay, this is the big big sandbox or toolbox we made.
Yeah. And all the people that are around me are part of this family. Sometimes they're dysfunctional. Most of the time, you know, it's quite harmonious.
Or my son when he was 4.
All right, so you can be like that, you can go, wah, and it can, you know, like you're like, oh, I feel it.
Copy that. No pull.
And 3, 2, 1, go.
One thing.
On action, if you're down like this on action, action, you like, oh.
Then on action, oh.
And then when you're crawling up here, like a couple more looks up.
You got it.
Ready, and 3, 2, 1, go! Because you'll become CG probably about right bunch. And this maybe.
Cool. See, that's how easy to replace.
But we pressed the, I pressed the button, and
There was a moment that I wanted to throw in there that is not in the movie.
Are they gone?
I think so.
They saved us.
Bang!
Everyone get back.
Cut. One more, one more, good.
.246 kilo, take 5, speed.
And Henry, take your time seeing the thing. Kiss! Bang! Great work, yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You know, they say it's all downhill after the first kiss.
I'm pretty sure it only counts when you're kissing a human.
So while you're enjoying Lois and Soup's kissing, which is cool, take a look at the city around there. Look at how ripped apart it is. That is a really good example of why we only shot for a short period of time on an actual location in Chicago. We knew that we were going to have to rip this city apart like no city in a movie featuring a superhero or maybe even aliens has ever been ripped apart. We really had to go to a green screen stage and make Metropolis the largest CG city we could.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sunk in there. That's not sunk. All right.
Lock up the noise counter. Here we go.
What is that?
Just thanks for wiping my brow.
How about that? What?
Oh yeah, his head goes that way, my head goes this way.
No, he goes.
And then we go like this.
That's the ticket.
That's more like a chiropractic adjustment.
What? The whole thing is chiropractic.
Yeah.
You need one beat of holding them. One half danger roll.
Half a beat. You know, I wanted to be a drummer, but I was always a beat off.
All right, we'll see. We want to be perfect because half beat should be one beat. Ready?
Mark.
Don't do this. Okay, do it.
Happy last day.
124 days ago in Chicago, in a lonely cornfield, and here we are in the mountains in California.
The backlit explosion helps a lot. It like gives it a nice density.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, how about that? One shot, one kill.
All right, guys, so.
Come on, let's put the cape on. Come here.
All right, guys, one last comment on the film. When we left Martha and Clark in the cemetery, they had a little flashback where they saw Dad. That was a scene we just shot kind of impromptu. I felt like it was really cool to kind of revisit this experience with Clark at the clothesline and then take him into the city via these shots where you're not really sure who that is.
Boarding school. They can put their lenses in the video camera. The sight comes off. Why don't you just take the sight off? It comes off, right?
Trying to be normal, I think I got it wrong.
Let's get the fan.
Oh wait, I'm supposed to have wheels?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. Do the
This is the
speed walking look.
It's the flash
Let's see it. Is that your pedaling motion? What do you think, John? You ride bikes? Yeah, no, that's good. Okay.
Yeah.
You were being teased by sort of the icons of Superman, or the Superman that we know.
Okay, so here we are in the Daily Planet. It's that key moment of you finally get to see Clark as the traditional Clark, who everyone expected to see him as at the beginning of the movie. And this is a really important phase because Lois is the only person who knows who I am.
Yeah, maybe that's it too. Maybe maybe your stuff's here, and maybe she comes in like this. That way, she has to look at him. It's like you're working. He comes over to do his thing, and you're kind of just like, okay, this is like entertaining.
And talk to me about the interaction between us in the office and trying to play it cool.
I actually love that moment for Lois and Clark. I think it sets up a really great future relationship, and I think it really, you get a peek inside. It's like we're revealing a secret to the audience that only we know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And Lois is, one of the major reasons why Cal chose Earth. And there's that wonderful purity there. There's that friendship. There's that honesty with each other, which, humankind and then being worthy.
Well said.
That last scene could be the first scene of another movie, certainly. It's Clark Kent entering the Daily Planet, meeting Lois Lane, hanging out with Perry White. It's all the things that everyone knows to be Superman. And so it's sort of our introduction, if you will, to the man that would be Superman. And that's what the whole film has been. And that's what the film was for me. I wanted to make a movie that, in the very last moment, reconnected you to what Superman was all about and let you have that breadth of experience of coming from Krypton, growing up with him, letting him have this epic battle, and now finding him in the place that you know him as Superman. And it was an amazing opportunity for me, and I had an amazing time doing it. Worked with amazing actors, incredible crew and cast, amazing producers, and really just kind of the best time I've had making a movie. So I hope you enjoyed this little behind-the-scenes look. Thanks for checking it out. So I guess until we do this again, thanks.